he falls in the dog. Or a horse. Or a horse. No, horses don't make me fall, but the dogs do. Well, they go like this. And like that.
Well, I mean, not that.
I think it was a horse, I mean, a dog.
So you just have to keep it in the cage.
Yeah, of course, it's not the one we're actually neighbors.
Give you a fake Priscilla.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I love that. I'm saying, I always think
Pretty sweater.
Thank you.
I usually use like hockey boots, they slightly shaped.
They put the bottom and just.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's a lot cheaper to make them.
Yes, I know that. How are you? Good.
Figure out. Look how much
6 months.
Yeah, it's true.
Can't put it in the calendar year, but 6 months they've had one of you up here.
Okay. Yeah.
You too, I don't think you put it in.
Any junk, I'm getting long. One was at surgery. This was 5 years ago.
How's it going?
We need to do a damn contract. 6 months.
At least while sitting down, you know.
Wait, you didn't keep. Noon to 8 is the deadline. Your meeting on the 11th. Check the deadline.
Good morning, Miss Dora. How are you? I'm very fine. How are you? Look cute. Look cute.
Yes, sir.
Who did that?
They did print extras of the January, February. Yeah. No, I agree. That's a good point. I'll go do it right now.
There is a newer one, isn't there? Yeah, just now that we're bringing it up.
We will call that meeting to order. We know Councilmember Reed won't be here, she's at the students here in training. Councilmember Black is on the way, so we will. We have cell phones, I was asking please put them on at this time, put them on silent. Instead, I have pledge of allegiance by Councilmember George, that's proud by Councilmember Lakeman.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Like, very good. Heavenly Father, we just lift up this meeting to you. We ask for your presence. We pray that you be in our hearts and our minds, that you would guide our discussion today so that we can do the work of the city. We appreciate your presence. Thank you for being with us, because this is the day that God has made. Amen. Amen.
Yes. We got a chance to review your minutes that we can give a nod to approve our minutes of our work session meeting on February 2nd, 2024, and our regular meeting on February 12th, 2024. Go on our consent agenda.
So moved.
Can't vote.
Why?
We'll do that regular
It's
session.
kind of- you need to put it on the
Oh,
consent.
consent, oh, yeah.
Well, I just said.
We can get a motion in a second. Councilmember Leslie use a motion. To make the motion, right?
Can we approve it?
No, we're not approved, this can go to consent agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And not our head, right?
She made the motion, we need a second.
Okay, I'll second.
All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Clerk will put this on our consent agenda, but the vote on our regular meeting. Okay, thank you. Donations of service for sprinklers. Jean?
Good morning. We've, doing a small build out at the fire station up there that was approved in last year's budget. We've got 2 rooms that we're adding that are basically like some storage rooms, the ones that plan review room. With that addition, we are required to expand the sprinkler system into those rooms. And I've received a couple of verbal estimates from some other companies that are around between $2,000 and $2,800. And had a third company come in just to give us an idea, and that company has offered to do that work pro bono at no charge to us for that. So that's what I'm here asking, is that permission to accept that donation from a company called Arc Fire Protection Services. He is a local contractor that lives here locally, goes to one of our local churches, and just wants to give back to the community, he says. So,
And the reason why, Mr. Mayor, that it is before you is because staff cannot accept gifts. And this is a wonderful gentleman, that's community spirit and whatever, but we're just asking for the council's blessing to accept the gift.
Which I think is a great gesture for our city. He's not asking anything for pro bono, he just want to make this.
No, sir.
For us, it's our fire department, which we know people in our community love to support our fire department, and it's something they do. So that council have any problem with that?
Mr. Mayor, I move it.
We can't deliver, but we can deliver consent agenda, you know, we accept that.
Okay.
Just a nod, if you approve. How about you, Councilmember?
Yeah, that sounds great. Well done.
Okay, Councilmember Joyce?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Gene.
thank you.
Sure, what a great gift for our city,
Absolutely.
for our fire department. It's good to put that on our consent.
What's your
agenda.
time frame on that?
Thank you.
We are in the process of it now.
Uh-huh.
We're hoping to have it done probably within the month
Awesome.
of this one, yes.
Right. Super. Thanks, Gene.
Thank you.
Residential parking practices and possible regulations. Councilmember Joyce?
Yeah, we kind of briefly discussed to a very light degree, I think our last meeting. This is instigated by a constituent of mine. I have copied you on part of his email. Basically, it says, as I believe any changes to the existing regulations would need to go through mayor and council. I wanted to loop you in, get your thoughts, and see if we can make any headway. Our concern is vehicles are being parked outside of driveways, typical parking locations, and in my opinion, it's not consistent with the look of our city, the look our city is aiming for. A vehicle or multiple vehicles regularly parked in front yards, side yards, and backyards on a regular basis is not acceptable. My understanding is we do have some code in place for commercial vehicles, however, no similar code is in place for residential vehicles. It seems an opportunity exists to provide some clarity and consistency with our regulations and guidelines. I would suggest and ask that this be reviewed by mayor and council and a plan put into place for Philip Malcolm to regulate any violations. As of now, my understanding is nothing is in place to prohibit such parking. I would suggest vehicles be parked in an appropriate aggregate in an appropriate location consistent with HPC guidelines for parking. So first of all, HPC of course only applies to the historic district. Anything we do on a ordinance level would be for the whole city. Looking at the HPC guidelines, they're really, and Betsy can kind of confirm this, it's really more the hardscaping related to parking. It's not, I mean, you're required to have a driveway and a garage located in certain places on your site. There's absolutely nothing that I could find in any kind of guidelines regarding how you use your front lawn, for example. You may have the required driveway and required garage space, but there's nothing says you can't drive your car off of those areas and put it right in the front lawn. So HPC guidelines don't really apply. quick research of the parking codes we do have. I think it specifies any houses in the city of Madison of 2,000 square feet or less require one space for parking. I assume that could be driveway, it could be a garage. Houses of over 2,000 square feet require space for 2 vehicles to park. Again, nothing specifying that it's got to be on aggregate or asphalt. It just requires spacing for that, which kind of assumes a driveway or a parking slab or a garage. Nothing, I think the citizen who wrote this is right. I can find nothing that would say that parking on front lawns is illegal. Some of the concerns that I think the mayor and Carrie brought up last time were some smaller properties, it may be hard to keep older vehicles. Sometimes garages are converted to living space, so when it was built, it might have complied with the ordinance, and now it may be a bedroom, all of a sudden the only parking may be driveway. So it's the challenge, I think, is to find, if we did want to go in this route, find an ordinance that would fairly apply to every house in Madison, and that sounds really daunting. My question for you guys is kind of number one, do you feel like property rights should allow people to park in their front yards if that's what they choose? Or do we think we as a government entity should be kind of dictating that sort of policy?
And I don't think we want to dictate to the property owner. And I think we have to understand we're living in a new era now where a lot of children, parents, are coming back home to them. You know, simply because it's just too expensive to live in a place else. So naturally, they're going to be 2 or 3 cars. And as you said earlier, houses now will be smaller, the driveways are just limited. And if you're going to convert that garage into a living space, your parking space is going to be limited. So I don't know how we can tell people not to park on the lawn when they have no place to park, especially when it's that they can't park in the street. So how do you fix that? You know?
There's a definite relationship between if you prohibit them from parking on their front yards, it's going to put more pressure to park in the street.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely.
And that's not desirable either.
Right. The other councilman have any other thoughts?
I'm curious, what other cities similar to the size of ours, what kind of, if any of those have, if anybody else has ordinances that, and what those look like. I think it'd be kind of interesting to look at some of our surrounding neighbors to see if they have.
It's a really good question. I was trying to arrange communication with the gentleman who wrote the letter to have him do some of that legwork. And he was unable to make the meeting today, and I don't know if he's been able to provide that information. I thought the same thing. I'd love to know whether Covington or Greensboro or Athens has something similar.
Mr. Mayor, I might recommend that this be referred to our planning department, not only because this is a planning issue, but also because code enforcement, Mr. Malcolm, is under planning. Have them review it, see if they have any thoughts. In the year and a half that I've been here, I have received some complaints, but in every instance where there was a complaint, it was a large yard where there was a driveway. The people just weren't parking in their driveway. So I'm wondering, I mean, no one really wants unintended consequences and people to be harmed by taking this problem over here and causing a problem over there. But I wonder if maybe planning could review this. I wonder if we could have a regulation. At a minimum, this is if you have a driveway, you need to use it. I think that would take care of 80 or 90% of the problem.
The way I look at it, John, I would like to see cars not parking on front yards. I would like to see them not parking inappropriately. I'd like to see them not parking excessively on the street. However, I'm not sure an ordinance prohibiting that is a solution that I'm comfortable with. That's kind of my feeling on
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, yes, sir.
Ask the city attorney to make
going to say, as far as other cities, Walnut Grove, who my firm represents, who's a good bit smaller than Madison, it's a social circle, had a similar issue, and they put an ordinance in place that basically you can't park any vehicles on grass. The unintended consequence of that is people just started getting gravel and dumping it in the front yard, and they just park on that. So, I mean, people are going to find a way to park where they want to park the car, even if they dump gravel in the front yard, which looks almost worse than grass in some people's opinions. So.
And that was in Walnut Grove?
Yes, sir.
That's kind of one of the things we were sort of fearing, is that general unintended consequences. I hate to put more work on the planning department, John, to be honest with you. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of interest on the council to move on that. I wouldn't want them to do a lot of work for nothing.
Well, it'd be interesting, if I ever had an opportunity to. Philip Malcolm's out in the community every day. It'd be interesting to find out what his perspective is in terms of the complaints he's received, or the observations. Is this just a problem that one or two property owners are causing, or is he seeing this regularly? So, if nothing else, I think that his input would be valuable.
Well, I think the writer, my constituent, has been in communication a number of times with Philip Malcolm. And it was, I believe I didn't include it, I kind of cut it out of this, but it was Philip that kind of recommended that he go through his council member, who was me, because there were no ordinances that, at the moment, that Philip could enforce.
I think too, Councilman, houses, the way they're being built now, it used to be when people could park up against the back. But now just those houses are so close, they can't park them in the back anymore. So the only alternative they have is probably the front yard, if they can't park in the street. I mean, if you got 4 cars or 5 cars, what are you gonna do? You know, I mean, what are you gonna do? You know, and what you rather see? I guess maybe a bigger park on the lot and have a lot of gravel, you know, and you gravel just to show front, you know.
It was when it comes, we had some recent discussions about parking in apartments and so forth. And minimum, we have guidelines in our zoning ordinance for minimum parking per unit, generally 1.5. I just read a thing online that came over, there's a trend now in cities to get away from the minimum parking and install guidelines for maximum parking. I'm not quite sure I followed the logic, but in other words, they didn't want to encourage too many cars. I didn't quite follow the logic. It seemed to me those cars that would exceed the maximum would end up on the darn street. It wouldn't be like the owners would sell the extra vehicle anyway. That's a side note. Did you want to have the planning department put a little work into this or not? I mean, I'm kind of reluctant to ask that myself.
If I may, I did like John's suggestion. I mean, Philip is out there every day. There might be something that occurs to him or what he's seeing that he might have a suggestion. He might, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to kind of get his perspective. I mean, I know he's gone out and looked at issues from time to time. I'm just wondering if he has any thoughts about that.
Okay.
Well, I do know this, if Philip sees a car parked on the street, constantly, he really doesn't want to come in and look at car off the street, if people off the street, into a driveway, or into the yard. It's something
All right, thank you all.
that, sure,
Thank you.
thank you. Discussion for open meetings, and I was going to get CMA Attorney Lucy Patel to come. We know that he's in session now with the General Assembly, but I talked with him on yesterday. He said he'd be willing to come in Madison to do this for our council, probably sometime in May. He'd like to do it before we go to the convention in June. So our council open for him to come to discuss open meetings and go into executive session, because there's a lot of things have changed, you know, and our cities need to be abreast as to what's happening.
Is that thing with Rushi, is that the same thing, Mayor, as Molly's invitation to do some
No,
training?
just two different things.
Two different things.
So we can have them come maybe at our work session and May if possible. So let's look at that. Okay, I'll talk to them and see. At work session. Thank you. We made appointments for city attorney, municipal court judge, and city solicitor. Last year, for our city attorney, our chairperson were Councilmember Black, Mayor Pro Tem Blanton, and I would ask our Councilmember Nathan if you would like to chair the city attorney this year. And on that committee would be vested Councilmember Wagenhoff, which you would like to serve on that committee. Sure. The city attorney, along with city manager Clem and myself. Municipal court judge, Councilmember Bessie Wagenhouse were chef last year, and I'm going to ask Councilmember Joyce if you would chair the solicitor court judge this year, along with Councilmember Harry Peters Reed, city manager John Clem, and myself. And for solicitor, I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Rick Black if you would chair that committee for us. And on this committee will be our Chief Bill Ashburn, City Manager John Clem, and myself, along with our municipal code clerk, Katie Dunbar. Are we okay with that? Okay.
Who was the chair of the last one for the solicitor?
Councilmember Reed.
Okay.
Yeah, Councilmember Reed. For last year. Yeah, for last year.
Well, just as a point of information, Mayor, I believe there's a bill up for consideration in the legislature that statewide would extend the terms of municipal court judges to 2 years.
Yeah.
Whether that happens simultaneously to our discussions, that kind of change some of the dynamics. We'll see what happens with that.
And maybe, well, we could get some insight on it, maybe make a decision before that time, but we'll see. Okay, Councilmember, good, but that's where that. Clerk, thank you so much.
Did you have any timelines, Mayor, as to when?
I would like to get this done probably before July 1st, so maybe if we could get, you could get your committee together.
Aim for the June
Before
council
June,
meeting?
I mean, yeah, March and April, you can set a meeting up. Quicker the better. Our chairperson, you can set your meeting up prior to July 1st. And that, I clerk know. City manager report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 4 or 5 items. I just wanted to remind the council that next week I'll be at the annual Georgia City County City Managers Association Conference on Wednesday and Thursday. The major issue that I wanted to discuss with you today deals with an item relating to the city clerk, and that's the ongoing issue that is raised about the timeliness of our agendas. And part of what we're trying to do over the next year or two is to look at some outdated policies and procedures that are begging for reform and propose reforms for them. Most recently, there's been some complaint about the minutes, and so our new city clerk has implemented a plan where you get the minutes at the very latest at the next meeting. And that's not only for the convenience of the city council, but that's for the convenience of the general public. Because if you're a member, if you're a taxpayer of Madison, and you can't go to a council meeting, you have a right to find out what happened at the meeting in a timely fashion. And so going 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 months before you get minutes is just not fair to council members and very unfair to our citizens. And so we've reformed that already. This is an issue that I want to raise about the agenda with a proposal that Ms. Everett and Jay have worked on that puts in place a standard policy and procedure that everyone can understand and that everyone should follow. And that is if you look, I handed out a calendar of, I just picked the month of August. And if you can look at that calendar, you'll see what the proposal is. The council meeting is the 12th of, happens to be 12th of August. So this proposal that we have drafted would require our city clerk to publish the full agenda a week before the meeting. So, and that means not only making it available to the council, but making sure by 5 o'clock on that Monday before the council meeting, that it's on the website, and that it's sent to any citizen who signs up for a listserv. It's a very easy process. You just push the button, boom, the agenda goes out, and anyone that wants to receive it, receives it. To accomplish that, there needs to be a deadline for staff to get the full package to the city clerk. And what this proposal proposes is that that be on the Thursday before the Monday before. So that would be the first. This is a standard process. The problem is that, and I'm not saying this about our present city clerk, I noticed it was a challenge for our former city clerk, where we have a standard practice. People come in, last minute Charlies like myself, and say, please, can I hold this? I need 2 more days or whatever, and it just steamrolls. And the net result is the agenda is on time and people suffer. I'm proposing that the council adopt an ordinance, which is a directive to staff and the city clerk, that she shall have the agenda ready. If an item is not ready, it's put off to the next meeting. If it's an emergency, we call a special meeting. But this is not only a policy that makes the city clerk's life a lot easier, it's a fair policy because citizens or business folks that have applications before the council or whatever know what the rules are. And so if the package needs to be ready by 1 week before or the Thursday before, it's the same rules for everyone. And so Jay has memorialized this in a draft ordinance that we just wanted to hand out today. But I'm familiar with this in other cities. It's worked well. Now, you might say that there are months where it could be problematic because the day that the department heads have to have the package to the city clerk is actually before the work session. Well, proper planning would suggest that, I mean, that's not proper planning. We shouldn't be talking about items in the work session that's so urgent that they need to go within a day or two to the council. Once again, time to time, there is an emergency. You have a right to call it an emergency meeting or whatever. But this just standardizes it, and it stops our city clerk from having to be the bad guy, because it directs her that she shall have that agenda a week before, by 5 o'clock on Monday, come heck or high water. That's the agenda. It's going to be published. It's going to be on the website. It's going to be on the listserv. Every meeting, everyone knows what the rules are. And then after we publish, obviously there's a period of a week where public comment can be received, up to and including the public comment that we receive at the meeting itself. And this would direct the city clerk, as she receives public comment, disseminate it immediately to the council. So you're getting it right away. So people have taken the time to give you your opinion. Council members will receive it immediately. So it's straightforward, it's basic, but its goal is to stop the more than occasional complaints. I didn't know about the meeting, I couldn't access the information, I got it at the last minute. And I mean, as an observer, we had a controversial project come before us in November, September 1st, then in November. And the room was packed. Obviously, no matter how you felt about the issue, there was citizen interest. This room was packed. Several weeks before that, there was a planning commission meeting, not one resident. I have to assume that that's either because citizens aren't interested, and I know that's not the truth because they were all here at the council meeting, or they didn't know about it. And so this is a standard policy. It's similar to other cities. It's black and white. And it'll stop the complaints that we're hearing about improper notification.
Where is the Mayor, if I could ask a question. Where is the wording about the public comment that would obviously have to come after the posting of the agenda? Where is that?
That would have to be added to
It's not in here now.
I don't believe it. No, it's not yet.
I'm not seeing it.
But I think it's really important that when we receive public comment, that you get it ASAP. Because you're the ones that are making the decision. And it simply directs the city clerk. As soon as you get it, boom, send it out to the council.
Does this apply only to mayor and council, or is this intended to apply also to our commissions like HPC or planning and zoning?
I mean, I think that would need some thought. This was initially designed just for the mayor and council. Whether there are implications for other committees, it is up to the council. And I think would need additional thought. But it's all about public notification. There's too many complaints about improper notification, and I think it could be solved with a stroke of the pen.
We were talking about public comments, Councilmember George. I guess on this new ordinance, they do have public comments on the new ordinance, on the new ordinance.
You mean on
agenda.
the listing of agenda?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the, someone that might want to write a letter based on what they see as the agenda a week in advance, they might want to write that letter. It doesn't address what Deborah would be doing with those letters that would come in after the 1 week.
And I think that I've observed that our planning department has received some unfair criticism because when the report goes out, they are in receipt of the public comment, and then 2 seconds later it might come in, but the report says there's no public comment. And so that's why it adds to the planning department, the city clerk. And our request will be that anytime they receive public comment, they send it to the city clerk, and we'll ask the general public to send it to the city clerk. But after the planning department has issues their report, they're basically done until the meeting or whatever. And I think they've been unfairly criticized, and I think we can change the process. So either planning or the city clerk just routinely sends it out. Because the general public doesn't know what to comment on until they get the agenda. So you're obviously going to get public comment after the Monday before. So any up to and including the public comment that you receive at the meeting. It just standardizes it, so whenever we receive it, you're going to get it right away.
You know, I remember a couple of years ago, I was doing a Zoom meeting for the Athens Clark County City Council meeting, and they have a practice up there. They had one of the council members, or I guess they call them commissioners up there, read every single letter that had come in. And there were like 5 letters, a lot of them long. It took about 40 minutes. I thought, boy, that's a little extreme. They actually read them into the public record, every letter that had been received. I don't think we need to go quite that extreme.
You can also, you can't really get it into the agenda, put the agenda posted and then you get comments, but you could, I think the city does a minutes packet, you can put in after the fact in the minutes packet saying, hey, we received these letters that was talking about this zoning action or whatever. The council got the letters as part of the consideration, put it in after the fact, so to speak. It could be an option.
When do we expect to get feedback from the planning department, for example, on this proposal?
Well, that draft goes to you because I'm asking you to consider it as your proposal. If you want to go forward with it, we would distribute it to departments for their input. Well, I mean, I think that if we take the next week or two to get any additional comments, additions, deletions, or whatever, that we could maybe put it on for the next, not the next meeting, the meeting afterwards.
If I may, make a couple comments. First, I think we need to be aware that sometimes one of us may get public comment that no one else receives. Something may come straight to me, and I think we need to be really aware of then giving it to the city clerk so that she can disseminate it. I think once in a while things have dropped through the cracks. The other thing I would think maybe, I don't know if it's just a question of explanation, but perhaps on the reports, when the planning department puts out reports and says no public comment, maybe they can put as of
As with a date.
a certain date, so that lets us know, as opposed to, especially for our citizens, that'll show up and go, what do you mean I have public comment? So it would kind of be more of a clarification that I think might be worthwhile.
So John, I'm sure you'll be getting comments from staff as well.
Yes. I'll report back in the next meeting.
Right.
I only have a few more items. I wanted to, once again, I guess, kind of a broken record on this, but our State of the City celebration is March 14th. Please feel free to continue to hand out invitations. We're excited about plans for the event, and we just want to make sure people know about it in the community. I also wanted to thank you all for your input, your initial input in terms of the budget. We continue to draft a budget in a timely fashion, and we'll have that ready for you. I also wanted to remind you that we put an item in the budget last year for a community survey, and we finally found an entity that's well qualified, that's willing to do a community survey for us. So sometime either in April or May, we will be conducting a community survey. And I hope that members of the council will do all that they can do to encourage citizens to take the 15 to 20 minutes that it might take to fill out the survey. This is our citizens' opportunity to tell us how they feel about a wide variety of issues. And it is being run independently and anonymously, so people don't have to worry about their opinions being taken the wrong way. It's an anonymous survey, professionally conducted. The mayor will be announcing this as a State of the City address, and thereafter we will be sending a mailing to every household. But I think that, and I hope that there's a role for council members to play to try to encourage people. We want a representative sample, which means we want an equal number of respondents in every one of your districts, and so that might take additional work or whatever. And we're thinking about strategies in terms of community groups or whatever, churches or whatever the case may be, to try to drum up support. But the effectiveness of the survey will be determined by the number of people that take it. And so I'm excited about this because I think it's going to give us information that maybe we've never had as a tool to set policy in. So as I said, I'm not going to say anything more because I don't want to impede on the mayor's speech, but please recognize that we're going to do a survey in April and May, and you'll be hearing a lot about it. And I think that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Will this be on the city's website about this survey?
Oh, absolutely. It'll be on the city's website, it'll be in our newsletter, and it probably will be a separate mailing to every household.
So I think at one time, were you talking about doing, the company having doing a phone interview now it's going to be a written question?
Well, it's actually going to be a hybrid. I've been involved with surveys for 20 years, and up until about 5 years ago, there was only one professional way to do it, which was the phone. Because of cell phones and because people are increasingly unwilling to use their phone, when you see a poll that's being done for a candidate for a presidential primary, as a matter of fact, the entity we're using did a whole bunch of surveys in the state of New Hampshire for all of the presidential candidates. They use a combination of hard copy surveys, website surveys, and phone surveys. So it's going to be depending on what is most convenient for the individual, there'll be 3 options.
And what is what are you aiming for the level of participation that you think would be minimal to make it an accurate survey? Are you talking about per household, per citizen? I mean, how's that?
If we have 400 or 500 respondents, and the respondents are representative of the community, that would be magnificent.
400 or 500. That's a lot.
That is a lot. That's very optimistic. But we need to convince our citizens that it's worth their time, that we're really interested in listening to what they have to say, and that this is a unique opportunity to send a message to us. If we can do that, I think it's possible to get the numbers up.
Do you think you'll reach every household, John, because a lot of citizens now just have cell phones, they don't have landlines anymore, so will they be?
Well, the only way that everyone's going to get a mailing, and the mailing's going to explain what the three options are. And so it's either going to direct you to a website to allow you to fill out the survey. It is going to, there's going to be sites around the community where people can pick up a hard copy, or it's going to be an 800 number that you can call and say, I'm Sally Jones and I want to take the survey, but I want to do it over the phone. They can set up a time where a surveyor would call them, a specific time to do the phone interview. So they'll have options for all three.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
John, I've been thinking, you asked how the meetings of the city council go. What I'd like to do for District 3 is, I'd like to hand deliver those individuals. That's what I would like to do.
That would be fabulous. The only thing is that we have to make sure that you or I don't get the reason, they're going to have to do something else with them to return them. If they gave it to you or they gave it to me, it would not be an objective survey. People would say so.
No, I wouldn't. I was just saying.
You just drop it off.
The mail, just drop it off and just say, here.
Yeah.
I think I encourage you
Yeah.
to give us feedback because we've got a lot of decisions to make and we want to try to make good ones.
I think
But
that's-
we need your input and it can be sealed up and everybody can just walk in and say,
I think actually, you could spend 5 or 10 minutes to explain how important it is.
I'm willing to do that.
That's fabulous.
Thank you. I need to walk anyway.
Are there any more comments to John on this?
This is great.
Thanks, John.
Okay. That's it?
If that's it, let me just say one thing though. Previously on our agendas, there was a space, especially for the work sessions, just to kind of have a moment to talk about miscellaneous, just a few things that wouldn't necessarily warranted to be a full topic, but just, added comments. If you remember, we had agreed to include that, and it's not on this agenda, but I do have a comment, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
That has to do with, explain to me, and Jake can help again, when, at the end of our city council meetings, there's a time for any public comment, which we had at the last. My question is, it was my understanding that we don't interact with that we just, the public, they come and make a comment, and then we say thank you for your comments, and then we leave it alone. And I know in the last one, just because of the topic, they felt like there needed to be engagement with that, and that, I feel like we went off the tracks on that.
Every city does it a little bit differently. Some, Walnut Grove has a talk back and forth. Recommendation from the city attorney is that unknown topics, especially like the one that was spoken last time, that does have some legal ramifications. My recommendation for public comment is always just let the public comment. The mayor says, thank you, we'll either put it on the next agenda, or we're going to talk about it, look into it, whatever. But it's not a back and forth because I think Aaron Wadley got put on the stand a little bit, and he wasn't expecting to do that. And so it is just, public comment, from my point of view, is they have the right to come up to the microphone, express whatever on their mind, but then it's a thank you, and they sit back down, and then John, staff, whoever takes the next step to either look into it or work on it. So that would be my recommendation. That's the way I prefer for cities to handle that, because unknown topics can be scary sometimes.
Mr. Mayor, may I agree with Jay wholeheartedly. However, there may be more than one or two or three people that have short comments that they want to make, and somebody gets up there, kind of like the last meeting, talks, and we're not getting to hear other people that might have get run on, and I think there should be a time limit, just like any other thing. And that's kind of why I stepped up and told Mr. Reeves I'd be happy to talk to him at another time, because the conversation was going where I didn't want it to go, and I thought it'd be better. But I think if we had a time limit on it, that it could give more people that have comments opportunity.
I agree with that. I like the idea of maybe a little preamble by the mayor. Here's some of the guidelines for public comment. It's not going to be a back and forth, and try and keep your comments to 5, 10 minutes, whatever. I think that makes sense.
Snellville does 5 minutes per person. You know, they have the clock up there. The mayor cuts them off at 5 minutes. The important part about that is don't let one person go over to 7 minutes and then cut the next person off at 5 minutes, because you can get to some freedom of speech issues. But there's no problem with, from the outset, the mayor announcing public comments. Anybody can come up to the microphone. You're limited to 5 minutes to make your comment, or whatever time frame y'all want to establish for that.
And I think if the mayor explains that, it gives an opportunity to get everybody that wants to do it. I think people will understand it, and maybe they can be concise, bring it, and do it. That's another way for us to hear what the public thinks.
And if I may add to that, I agree, I think we should have a time limit. I feel like, if you, in your, in your explanation of trying to kind of nip the thing in the bud by making a comment, the problem is when you offer to do that, that's not a council decision, that's an independent decision that it's not, that it's really not based on what a council decision. So I feel like it's really important that we just don't, make any kind of comments at all, because it doesn't necessarily represent the council. So, and I think it's
But
great
if
when
we
we'll.
have a time limit of 5 minutes, I wouldn't be doing that.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
we'll see. I've seen you before, Ed. I'm playing with you
And I
now.
know you're playing with me, but I also usually don't talk until I've heard a lot of different opinions. That's why I want to hear more people's public comments than just.
Right, well, anyway, but I do like the idea that we're really clear about
Absolutely right.
taking it, and also just taking it under consideration, and taking that steps with it, but not during the public comment.
Exactly, and to make the council do it, through knowing that they need to know they're speaking directly to the council. And no council making no comment. They may ask you a question there, and you may say, well, I have no comment, just listen tonight, Because once you answer one question, it's gonna lead to another one.
We've seen that, yeah.
And it opens up a can of worms,
Right.
so we just, to listen,
And if I may, I think that ends up back on your plate
Right.
to make sure that if any of us on the council, if we kind of get carried away or we forget our place, I think it's really up to you to nip that in the bud too.
Absolutely right, absolutely. Well, I'm glad to get some clarity on this for all of us, so I think we're headed in the right direction. But like, I think, last council, I think we did put this citizen on display, and he got started, he didn't know what to say at one point in time, and that should not happen. Going forward.
Okay.
Going forward. Are we good?
Mr. Mayor, I have a very quick update on the charter change. The General Assembly members, Mr. Fleming and Mr. Strickland, had their legal staff draft the bill. I have a copy of that bill that I can send to all of you, but it mirrors the resolution that you all voted on last time. As part of that process, we have to run an ad in the paper before the General Assembly can vote on it, and that ad is going to be run next week. Deborah's been working with the paper, and then the following week, I expected your legislators will get that through the General Assembly. So probably a couple weeks away, but it's on track and it's going to go through.
Probably not in time for the March 11th mayor and council meeting, but one after
And I
that.
would expect that it would be voted on sometime during that week. but, yeah, it probably will not be done the Monday of the meeting.
And let me ask you this, so with this change, the mayor pro tem is always appointed by the council and elected by the council the first meeting in January. So will this start at the year 2025?
Yes, that would be my understanding. The next time, whenever you don't usually do it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't, sure. I wasn't envisioning that timetable, but
The amendment has it as, I believe, the first meeting in January is when that is voted on.
I think the charter says first meeting in January or assumed thereafter as practicable, something along those lines. I was kind of envisioning to just be the first 2-year term that would be slightly shorter because of this delay on the charter thing. I thought it'd be retroactive to this year, but
That is something that you all can control, those, so.
Okay. Nothing else to be discussed? All right, thank you.